I didn't find any LEGO Friends retrospective video, which kinda surprised me considering how popular all these nostalgic videos are becoming.
Well, yeah, no, of course Negative Legend released his video much earlier before me. I'm not copying Negative Legend!
Well, I hope nobody else will release another LEGO Friends video before me. For me, LEGO Friends is a nostalgic brand which has been kind of left in my childhood. So I was extremely surprised when I found out that they're still making and producing the toys and selling them. I believe I first saw the new LEGO Friends either in late 2024 or early 2025 in a toy store. And, I'm extremely blind. So I first just saw the silhouette of the new LEGO Friends logo and the teal box, which got me thinking that, hey, maybe LEGO Friends just did a rebrand as many brands do. But then, upon closer inspection, I realized that it's not just the logo and colors that has changed, but that I also don't recognize any of the characters. Honestly, that was what got me curious about what happened to LEGO Friends and where did the old characters go. And that is the reason why I decided to make this deep dive video, essay, retrospective. Yeah. So, LEGO Friends Universe, or shall I call it LEGOverse? Because somebody in the comments mentioned that I called Anna Blue's Universe instead of Blooniverse. Is quite extensive and confusing, so I can forget some details. Therefore, if I forget something, you can mention it down in the comments from your memories with LEGO Friends. That also gives you the reason to rewatch LEGO Friends series once again. And so, who's ready to dive deep together with me into another nostalgic retrospective deep dive video essay? But before we dive deep into LEGO Friends, we first gotta digest some of the LEGO history. LEGO started as a nameless company of one person who worked as a carpenter, Ole Christiansen. After returning from Germany to Denmark in 1916, he had purchased a carpentry shop, which his two sons, Karl and Gottfried, burned later in 1924. Fortunately, Ole didn't give up and purchased a larger shop by the 1930s. If you've read your history books well, you very well know that the 30s were signified by the Great Depression, which hit Denmark too. With his customers being unable to afford his products, he turned to making toys out of cheap wood. The toys he was making were actually pretty good and high quality, but nobody would really buy them because Ole wasn't much of a salesman. After all, his one-man company didn't even have a name yet. However, he had an amazing son who would help him out with toy making after school. Ole also introduced the motto, Google Translate please say it instead of me because I don't want to destroy the Danish language.
Det bedste ikke for godt.
Only the best is good enough, which is still at the core philosophy of LEGO even today. Jumping a bit forward ahead, that's also the reason why LEGO still uses the highest quality plastic, especially compared to its rivals. And that's also the reason why LEGO is one of the most admired brands globally. And I mean, I also love it. Which you can also see by my setup here today. And in 1932, Ole with his son Gottfried created the first toy. Yes, kids. This is the first official LEGO toy. A wooden duck. Well, the more you know. Everybody criticized Ole for toy making. I mean, who would buy your toys, especially during economical crisis? But Ole defended his decision to become a toy maker during the Great Depression by pointing out that animals also use play to develop their brains. Yeah, I would also not believe him. And 2 years later, in 1934, he finally coined the name Lego by combining two Danish words, leg and god, meaning play well. However, the history didn't want to give a break to anyone because the World War II happened and Denmark was occupied by Nazi Germany. And I hope this video won't get blocked by YouTube because, hey, look, this is all educational content. And so, by the end of World War II, many traditional materials were too expensive to purchase, so everybody tried to stick to some plastic alternatives. In 1947, the Lego company was the first toy manufacturer in Denmark to purchase a plastic injection molding machine, which was so expensive that it cost more than twice its year's profits. Ole! In the 50s, Ole and Gottfried spent their time modifying the self-locking building bricks invented by Hilary Fisher Page. And by the 60s, in 1954 to be more precise, Lego produced and patented their first brick. The bricks allowed the kids to have a system in their play and inspire their creativity, what no toy ever allowed before. Also, what's important to mention about these Lego bricks was that before the 1960s, Lego bricks didn't have these tubes inside, which did not allow them to stick together like this. And so, all the structures would easily fall apart, especially when picked up. However, once Ole's son Gottfried realized the tubes could allow them to stick together and hold on to each other, the sales of Lego went booming. I will leave this video you've just seen on your screens right here about this Lego history down in the description box, as well as a pinned comment, because it was actually a pretty interesting animation and history to listen to, especially if you are interested in the history of Lego. I should really fix my vocabulary. In Billund Center, the 1924 home of the Lego founder, Ole, has been renovated into a museum. The Idea House, as it's known, highlights the quaint beginnings of Lego, some wooden yo-yos as well as the wooden duck. And you can also visit it to see a display of Lego minifix prototypes and its design process. And ever since their existence, Lego bricks were marketed for both boys and girls. The basic colors even included only red, yellow, and blue, much taken from Absolute Color Scheme, according to Piet Mondrian. The first Lego commercial even says, "Lego is here. Hey, kids, look. Kids, go ahead and play with Legos." And the song goes, "This young boy had such fun building Lego one by one. This young girl had such fun building Lego one by one." In the 70s, we also saw the Lego group, which I'm gonna refer to as DLG from now on, experimenting with different types of human-like figures. The first Lego figure, sometimes called Maxifix, as per to contrast with their later on mini brother counterparts, were built using the standard Lego bricks with a head attached to them. However, in 1978, Lego finally introduced their first minifigure, or minifix as we all know them today, which became the standard for plastic people. And the minifig is now as iconic as the Lego brick itself, which you can also see by my setup here today. Over the years, Lego has tried to introduce some other types of plastic people, but none of them had the staying power of Lego minifig. And in the 80s and 90s, Lego tried to enter the digital era by introducing its first computer-controlled RoboKit and Lego Mindstorms and video games. Meanwhile, it launched its first product line meant for young girls, Lego Belville, in 1994. Among the 10 characteristics for Legos introduced by Gottfried in 1963, it says that Lego is for both boys and girls. However, with sets which clearly attracted more boy audiences than girls, demographics started shifting a bit and became quite imbalanced. In 1994, TLG tried to fix this issue, so they launched the LEGO Belville. Belville was the longest running girls only theme and also the pinkest, most gender imbalanced and gender stereotype reinforcing, as this one source puts it. Its building instructions were simplified and the classic building experience is barely present there. The sets favor gigantic prefabricated walls and floors, houses, and other buildings that don't even look like their real-life counterparts. Though I gotta say that I like these building instructions because the mini dolls, it interacts with the building Lego pieces. That's so cute! Furthermore, while all of the male figures are heavily androgynous, all the females are very feminized. So honestly, I don't really see any problem with that. And yeah, let's address these LEGO minifigures. These LEGO minifigs included joints and they started looking Barbie-like, but honestly, I just find them really scary and uncanny. Though the consensus seems to be that people actually like the introduction of new unusual accessories as well as some interesting colors, and LEGO minifigs with joints allow brick filmers to film some stop motions. LEGO Paradisa was launched in 1992 and discontinued in 1997. Its sets were targeted to girls and it was island resort themed. It included male, female and also gender neutral figures. And it is true that LEGO Paradisa was beloved by many. Despite that, it also struggled with some controversies. One of them was that the building process was simplified compared to regular LEGO sets, but that wasn't the biggest issue people had with it. Much bigger problem with Paradisa touched upon the career choices. While male were mostly servants and worked as chiefs, ice cream men, butlers and lifeguards, women mostly just relaxed, went surfing and went horseback riding. Which I don't know about you, but again, don't see really much of any problem with that. And second, I would also rather be relaxing all the time and be served by men all around me. LEGO Scala was a theme for girls with two iterations. First one was produced in 1979 till 1980 and it featured buildable jewelry and beauty accessories. Yeah, not LEGO at all. And another from 1997 till 2001 focused on large, doll-like figures, homes and accessories, similar to Barbie toys. Here's the dream house, for example. The second wave being more successful and longer lasting than the first one, and also being launched in 1997, is exactly the reason why I put LEGO Scala after the previous two. As I already mentioned, the first iteration featured LEGO pieces which allowed you to build accessories, and the second iteration allowed you to build houses as in regular LEGO toys, and it also included Scala dolls, which essentially, as one of the sources called them, was LEGO Barbie. Scala dolls suffered from many problems Belville did, but they were even more pronounced apparently. And last was LEGO Clickits, introduced in 2003. TLG basically recycled the first iteration of LEGO Scala theme, and the LEGO Clickits pieces are hardly compatible with any other LEGO pieces. This line also contains some Bratz-esque characters. 2003 was exactly a year before LEGO almost went bankrupt, so there are many products released that year which deviate significantly from LEGO's core values. But what was good for Christian family souls hit their bottom line. In 1997, TLG posted a small loss. In 2003, much bigger one, and in 2004, a carnage, when they suffered the biggest loss in company's history. $2,090 in debt, which was equivalent to its annual sales. Though I translated this course because I took this from a British source, which it stated that the loss was £270 million. So the curse might have changed in those years. In 2004, a new CEO came into the company to save itself and to make money for them. Jorge Knudstorp?
Jørgen Vig Knudstorp.
And it dawned on him. The problem was not in the product itself, but in LEGO Group's attempts to modernize itself in the 90s and being more relevant during the digital age. It had attempted to broaden its scope to girls and female audiences. It had tried to become a lifestyle market with introducing its own lines of clothes and watches. Finally, it had built more theme parks. But in doing so, it neglected its core business. That also kind of reminded me of when Apple introduced its first console in the 90s, which I'm sure most of you haven't even heard about. And within 4 years, he managed to turn this ailing loss-profit market into a lean, streamlined, money-making business with the net profit of... I'm not gonna translate it into dollars anymore. With £163 million in 2008. Harder was the task of changing the employee's mindset. Instead of nurturing the child, as Knudstorp puts it, their primary goal had to be, I'm here to make money. Introducing performance pay was a start. So too was injecting the sense of urgency into building its products. When before it took 2 years from idea to box, now then it had to take only 12 months to develop a product. In the end, Knudstorp managed to save and revitalize the company. The post-2004 era had seen flourishing LEGO themes and sets. And previously raceless minifigs were injected with more personality and diversity than ever before. Overall, LEGO has seen its biggest success in 2012 with impressive sales and new factories being built. One of which is also located in Czech Republic. And it was built on the street Bílund, Scala. However, part of new TLG's strategy was also abandoning efforts in the girls market and instead focusing on boy themes. And so TLG introduced themes such as LEGO Ninjago, LEGO Dino Attack, LEGO Power Miners, LEGO Vikings and LEGO Agents, for example, in its golden era. And remember the first commercial in 1955? The one which included both boys and girls? The one which spoke to kids and not only to boys? Yeah, well, after Knudstorp's arrival, girls also apparently disappeared from LEGO commercials and marketing materials. And this source I'm citing here, would Knudstorp have some kind of evil, bad, misogynistic guy? Though it was actually during his ruling that LEGO Friends theme was introduced. And also, he said himself apparently that he has 2 wonderful daughters along with 2 amazing sons.
And he also used to wear this LEGO business card with him. It's so cute!
And also, I obviously did not search for advertisements during this era, but if some of you can confirm or not confirm that there were literally no girls in the LEGO commercials during this era, please write it down in the comments. In the end, LEGO was never meant to be only for boys. It has always been a gender-neutral toy. And soon enough, TLG found that most of its consumers, 70%, were boys. Seeing this gap in the market LEGO wasn't filling in, the design team conducted several years of research and testing and retesting sets aimed primarily for girls. So enter LEGO Friends. LEGO Friends was meant from the start to be marketed specifically at girls. It had completely different aesthetic to other LEGO themes, boasting new colors, new pieces, and the most dramatic of them all, the mini dolls. In October of 1999, you're the manager to Tough Stuff, an all-girl band practicing to win the high school music competition. You can create your own music, stage lighting, and dance routines.
What are you talking about? These aren't Lego friends.
Well, sure they are, kids. Just sit down and listen to this tale old as... ale? In the 90s, as previously said, LEGO was trying to modernize itself and enter the digital era by developing video games. In October of 1999, LEGO Media released the game titled LEGO Friends. This computer game focuses around girlfriends forming a music band in order to compete in a high school musical competition. Its gameplay is quite simple. You move across 6 different locations and play musical minigames, where you, for example, have to form a stage, compose a song, choreograph a dance, which, let's be honest, the dances, most of them look actually hella scary. I mean, just look at her! Oh my god, you're going crazy, girl! And even includes a printable scrapbook? What? Though if I understand correctly, it was kind of tedious to flip through all of the pages, because if I understand it correctly, you only could flip through forwards, but if you wanted to go to the previous pages, you just had to keep on flipping through forward until you reach the previous page. And there were a lot of them. And yeah, this game it reminds me more of an animated series rather than a game, because after you complete each mini quest, you're forced to watch these low quality 2000 style animation scenes. But okay, even though they do look a bit scary, they still have this nostalgic note to it, so I like them. And it even reminds me of the show 16. Still, I appreciate the fact that it gave kids the freedom of creativity and helped them develop and explore some of their music talents and skills, unlike some of the modern day games, right? Apparently, this game was created as an experiment after a field study conducted by Elena Catton into concerns about their demographics, which became the first stepping stone in closing the gap of around 80% of them being boys. Which different sources say different numbers, but it's usually between 70 and 90% of the demographics being boys. But I found that only on one research, so I don't know if this information is credible or not. And then there came the long 12 years of silence. I did not think this through. Imagine, it's 2011. You walk into the store and you see Lego Star Wars on one shelf. Next to it, there are Pirates of the Caribbean and recently released Lego Ninjago on the other shelf. But what can you buy for your little girl? As already said, the problem of Lego was its demographics, which 70% of them were boys. Over the years, LEGO had few initiatives aimed at girls. Some of them failed because they misapprehended the differences in how different genders play. Others, while modestly profitable, did not incorporate with LEGO's core values. TLG undertook a 4-year-long research project with focus groups to figure out what might attract girls to play with LEGO. This research project was looking at the differences in the way that girls and boys play, and LEGO Friends ended up being one of the most researched LEGO projects ever. What researchers discovered was that while boys tend to build a model from beginning to end and play with it only once it's completed, girls, on the other hand, they prefer to stop mid-build and play with the Legos as they go. They also found that girls enjoy looking at the details while building. And contrary to the previous beliefs, they found out that girls actually like to build. The boys also focus on battles and good versus evil themes, while girls like to roleplay and project themselves onto the figure. Another main thing was that girls couldn't really relate to the minifigures. They were too blocky for them. Boys tend to be more about, as previously discussed, good versus evil, while girls, they like to relate themselves to the mini doll. All they wanted was really just greater attention to detail and realistic proportions. The key difference between girls and the mini doll and boys and the minifigs was that boys, they tend to play in third person, while girls, they like to project themselves onto the mini doll and see themselves in her. Girls just needed a figure that they could identify with and that looks like them. And another concern, and I quote Lego's market research manager, the greatest concern for girls really was beauty. And while I don't really like the wording here, I have to kind of agree. Because I remember that I owned both Lego Friends sets and a lot more other Lego themed sets, but I didn't really like these other themes because the minifigs, they did look kind of ugly to me and the colors were boring. Well, on the other hand, I absolutely loved my mini dolls again because they were more realistic and, to be frank, more beautiful. So overall findings of that study was that girls prefer role-playing via see themselves through the figure compared to boys who prefer to play in the third person. And also that basically boys focus more on the exterior while girls on the interior.
Exactly what they wanted. They studied how boys played versus how girls play with Lego. What is it they focus on when they build? And a key detail is that boys would focus on the outside of a house, while girls would often want to fill each room with detail. They wanted something the figures can do inside the house, so they knew girls want detail, which inspired the new minifigures for Lego Friends, where they were a midway point between a Lego minifigure and a doll, where little girls could find a minifigure that resembled them, and so they could visualize themselves playing with the toy easier. And they spent 4 years experimenting with different minifigure designs and researching other elements that would expand the way a girl would play.
All of this is exactly what I found as well. And even the picture is the one I found. I'm not stealing. I did my own research. And this guy. Yes, I agree.
Lego Friends was launched in January of 2012 with a $40 million budget. It released 14 sets, which were appropriately priced, especially compared to Belville and Scala themes, which had one of the worst prices to pieces ratio ever. Which I believe you can't really say today. And Lego Friends successfully replaced other girl-themed series like Lego Belville, Paradisa, and Scala. And by the end of 2012, Lego Friends was the 4th best-selling product line, and the number of girl consumers of Legos had tripled. The group sold twice as many Lego Friends products in the first 6 months than expected, which proved that their most researched project, which took 4 years to develop, really paid off. The Lego Friends franchise was set in the Heartlake City, which followed the adventures of 5 girls: Andrea the singer, Emma the artist, Olivia the inventor, Mia the animal lover, and Stephanie the sports freak. And of course, Lego Friends also featured its own website which provided product information, as well as personalities of each of the 5 friends and different spots in Heartlake City. The site also featured an avatar creator, mini-movies, games? Okay, what the holy fuck, I have to check it out. Oh, of course it doesn't work. And besides all of that, it also mentions some video, instruction, building tips and other, but we are not interested in that right now. I'm hungry! Okay, I've eaten, not hungry anymore, it's already past 7 p.m, we can continue. Now, we have to talk about the revolutions of LEGO Friends, because there were a few. I know for a fact that all toy franchises create movies and animated series in order to sell more toys to the kids. But I can't neglect the genius move by LEGO Friends that they created a whole city in the animations, showed each of the locations, and then sold the sets of these locations in product lines and toys.
And also that the whole city is basically created with Lego pieces.
The new LEGO sets also feature the same building mechanics as other LEGO boy themes, which fought the acquisitions of the previous Paradisa and Belville whatever themes for having simplified building system. But again, as I mentioned before, I like the Belville instructions more than Friends for interactions between my figure and the building materials. The thing is, when LEGO first started, it only had 3 basic colors: red, yellow, and blue, much taken from Piet Mondrian's absolute color scheme. For a long time, TLG had this idea that pink equals girl and girl equals pink. The widely believed belief is that TLG introduced the new color pink into its sets. However, this is a very common misbelief. Can I find some other synonyms to this word? Misconception, which I also believed before diving deep into this research. Instead, TLG has introduced a range of 4 new colors, including purple, lavender, teal, and turquoise.
Turquoise.
Maybe I now understand where I got my love for the color purple from. Even though they originally apparently made 6 colors, they ended up sticking with 4. And if I understand it correctly, it was because, first of all, 4 colors in sets are much easier to produce. And also, this limited color palette looks then more pleasable to the eyes. This color talk is very confusing, as I found one research which stated that the 6 colors only refer to the ink colors, and there were introduced 6 colors in the end, most of which were already introduced in LEGO prior to LEGO Friends. But then it goes on to saying that lavender was first used on the LEGO minifigures Series 5 fitness instructor in 2011, before finally arriving in France in 2013. However, you can clearly see the color lavender being used in the first LEGO Friends sets. I still don't understand it.
Okay, so I tried to understand the colors topic once again, but I still don't fully really grasped it and understood it, because here you can see that this source says that LEGO Friends supposedly gave us 6 new colors. However, this information is confusing and blah blah blah. It refers to the ink colors, basically what I said, because new hues of building premiere exclusively were medium azure and medium lavender. Light aqua was heavily used by Friends, blah blah blah, but it first appeared in brick form in 2011 in the Disney Pixar Cars theme. Well, I tried to search for it, and I guess they are referring to this set, which was produced in 2011, as you see, and I guess they are referring to this small little, I'm sorry, I forgot their name. And then this source says that lavender was first used on the LEGO minifigures Series 5 fitness instructor, again in 2011, and blah blah blah, and all these other sets. And I tried to search for it, and actually yes, as you can see here, the lavender is in the boom box, and here says that fitness instructor was produced in 2011. But then in this interview, Fenella, by the way, say hi, this is Fenella. She says that they actually introduced 6 new colors, as you will see here right in a second. See? And basically she goes on to explain that it's hard to introduce more colors into LEGO. So I'm still extremely confused about all of this.
Never mind, the consensus seems to be that the colors are amazing, as well as the accessories, which are great. LEGO Friends also introduced a range of new accessories, and I believe that the pictures I'm showing you right now are from the 2018 relaunch, But never mind, all the accessories had pretty much the same point to them. And alongside amazing accessories, they also featured these cute and bubbly animals. All standard LEGO animals are quite blocky, just like the LEGO minifigs. But LEGO Friends finally introduced some realism into the toys. And I remember I had the rabbit, which I believe is the cutest one of them all. And the horse looks like a gore nightmare come true. And finally, let's talk about the biggest revolution of LEGO Friends. The mini doll. In the research conducted by TLG design team, they found out that the minifigure was not something that the children were expecting to find when they reflected themselves onto a figure, to really, truly roleplay. Over and over, TLG had the same reaction when the children saw the figures. Ugh! Who is this? And that was their wake-up call, said Vanilla Charity from the design research from the LEGO design research team. The key difference before the girls and lady figs and boys and the minifigs is that girls project themselves onto the lady figs, while boys they tend to play in the first person. Girls like to roleplay and see themselves in the mini dolls. The girls needed a figure that they could identify with, that they could relate to. And also, as mentioned previously, you can see the design process and other prototypes of the mini dolls in Billund's idea house. While the minifigs were really unique and special and realistic and well beloved, they also had some problems. Compared to the minifig, the mini doll is lacking in two key aspects: articulation and compatibility. The classic minifig has 7 points of articulation. Okay, 8 if you count the hairpiece. Whereas the mini doll only had 4 points, or 5 with the hair. Mini dolls can't rotate their hands, which limits their ability to accurately pose accessories, or move their legs independently, which prevents them from being posed in active positions like running. They can only sit, stand, or bend over. Though some perverted people try to fix this issue, and I can't appreciate enough how talented and how much fantasy all these people have. And you can clearly see that customizers and OAK people are literally in every fandom. The value of the LEGO system is the ability to connect each pieces together. The only compatibility between mini dolls and minifigs is the hairpieces and accessories. Unlike minifigs' legs and torsos, which easily connect to standard LEGO bricks, so you can build any type of legs you want, the leg to torso connection on the mini doll is not compatible with any standard LEGO connection. Additionally, the mini dolls do not have LEGO connections on the back of their legs, like minifigs do, making it impossible to securely attach them to vehicles in seated positions. Though again, having no holes on their butts only contributed to the realism of the minifigure. And you can still put the mini doll in a seated position on the table. There's really no problem with that. Which, hey, some might even consider nostalgic, because previously you couldn't really securely attach LEGO bricks to each other, which made the structures fall apart. And also, the last problem, which wasn't really much of a problem, I believe, was that until 2020, the LEGO mini doll's hair was made out of some kind of rubbery material, before being finally exchanged for plastic as all the other minifigs have. So here, I do remember that my Olivia had this rubbery hair, but for some reason I also remember that I did hold some mini dolls with plastic hair even before 2020. Or maybe it was just male hair. Either way, I remember the rubbery material really did seem weird to me, but I also liked touching it and playing with it because it was quite interesting and unusual to play with. And of course, if something new is launched, especially if it's from a popular brand, and especially if it's feminine, certain controversies have to follow. and the main criticisms of LEGO Friends touched mainly upon the subject of gender stereotypes. Even before its launch, LEGO Friends had struck up some controversies, some of which were discussed in an article by the Business Week, even prior to LEGO Friends' launch in 2011. And I'll be referring to this article in this chapter quite a bit as well. And I also found one LEGO comic strip which perfectly illustrates all these controversies, which I'm gonna show you at the end of this chapter. And one more thing before we start. I believe that the LEGO Friends faced too much hate pretty much for nothing. And honestly, I tried to stay on a neutral side here, but as you'll see further on, I ended up being biased towards LEGO Friends. One article in The Atlantic stated, "The campaign for a commercial-free childhood nominated LEGO Friends for a TODY Award, which is a Worst Toy Award and an acronym for Toys Oppressive and Destructive to Young Children. Having opinionated that LEGO Friends line was so jam-packed with condescending stereotypes it would make even Barbie blush." In the article The Evolution of LEGO Friends by Blogs Magazine, they state, "Most of the early criticisms about Friends were well justified, as the first sets were the stereotypical types that could easily be found in other girls' toys at the time, like Barbie or Polly Pocket." Wow, they've even remembered Polly Pocket here. Many fans didn't think this clear gender division was right, and that LEGO sets should be for everyone, no matter the theme. That's true, and say to all the sets from the 90s and 2000s, which were clearly made for boy audiences. The gender stereotypes were also perpetuated in the characters' appearances and personalities. Minifigures had always come with trousers, dresses, while Friends introduced skirts along with a lot of pink outfits. Now what is wrong with skirts and pink outfits? There are also no guys inhabiting Heartlake City back in 2012. Olivia's father, hello. Mia was animal obsessed. Why do they have to use such a strong word such as obsessed here? Marie liked baking and Andrea wanted to be a pop star. Scandalous. The LEGO group were only reiterating real-life gender stereotypes, which is frustrating as girls should be encouraged to pursue what they want and not have to meet outdated societal expectations. Okay, I'm gonna address that later, but so you don't think I'm such a stupid, misogynistic or whatever, I don't like these gender stereotypes as well, but also I think that there is nothing wrong with being girly girl or with boys liking girly girl things or if girl doesn't want to be fuck it, you'll hear it later. Besides, there was also the allegation that the first line of LEGO Friends toys featured all female characters except for Olivia's father, but Vanilla in one interview once said that when we designed the mini-doll figure, we didn't omit the boy figure. He was always there, but intended to come later. We needed to be really strong in the first year establishing the 5 central characters for girls to relate to. As we grew the city, we introduced supporting characters, both girls and boys. Which, to be frank here, maybe one boy character who is also like a parent wasn't really enough in the first year of establishing the LEGO Friends, but then Vanilla also goes on to say that it was important for them to establish these 5 main girl characters first, for other girls to relate to. Which obviously, they would probably not really relate to boy characters. Not really. But okay, to be clear and transparent here, this article goes on to state that LEGO Friends eventually evolved over time and became more diverse and a bit more gender inclusive. Lots of people had also some problems with the color pink, but haters' comments get often backlashed by the fact that color pink existed in LEGO sets for decades. And also, LEGO Friends introduced the colors purple, green and blue to their sets and not pink.
Mini dolls are not Lego.
And then, the mini dolls went on to receive some backlash as well. First of which was that mini dolls did not look like Lego at all.
When I have shown the mini dolls to my friends, coworkers, and family members, the response has been pretty consistent. That's not Lego, is a common refrain. My sister's first impression was that, why are these Barbies in the Lego catalog? I thought it was some kind of weird cross-promotional thing.
Though, now I'm thinking, shouldn't have Belville and Paradisa received the same backlash back then as well? Well, all I can say is that minifigs also had different prototypes since the 70s. Maxi things. And some Lego sets released weird looking figures as well. And now we have such themes such as Minecraft and Animal Crossing. And yeah, as if all the Star Wars characters totally look like typical Lego minifigs. And then many went on to say that the mini dolls were sexualized, as always happens with any feminine toys. The article The Beauty and the New Lego Line for Girls on the Society pages called this phenomenon of sexualizing toys a sexy toy makeover. They criticized the mini dolls by saying that the new line includes a new Lego figurine that is taller, thinner, more feminine, and with boobs.
They even have a Pinterest board dedicated to this whole sexy toy makeover.
And of course, as any toy meant primarily for girls, the controversy has also been alleged. Though even I can say that when I was a child, I did not want to look like these slim figures. And what's more, there was even this one study which found out that kids perfectly distinguish between toys and real life. And they all understand that, for example, Barbie's proportions aren't real and achievable.
And that makes me want to ask you a bit of a personal question. Has any of your toys or animations ever projected an ED onto you? For example, have you ever wanted to look like these proportionally skinny Monster High dolls with huge head on top of their bodies? Or have you ever considered you wanted to look like these chubby Teletubbies? Or perhaps, have you ever wanted to overeat yourself with cookies after seeing a Cookie Wait. That actually...
Some sources vocalize that Lego Friends sends bad message to girls and tells them that they can't do certain parts of jobs, can't perceive education in science, technology and engineering and maths, and perpetuates stereotypes of women as wives, mothers and homemakers. Olivia is literally the representation of STEM at Lego Friends. Once a 7-year-old Charlotte wrote to Lego that Lego for girls was boring. She wanted to see female Lego minifigs go on adventures, have jobs and swim with sharks just like the males did. Right after the letter, a set of astronomy with female scientists was released, but perhaps it was just a coincidence. It is also said that actually many of the Lego Friends sets encouraged more girls to take part in the STEM education, as many of these sets and characters are about this subject. And not to mention, in 2017 there came a literal snowstorm of winter-inspired sports sets, including ice skating, skiing, and sledding. And Olivia got her own science lab too. And what's more, if you remember from the TLG's research, they found that girls want to relate themselves onto the characters. And you know, in 2000s and even in 2010s, there was still kind of this stereotype and societal expectations of girls being girly girls and mothers and whatnot, which basically makes Lego Friends a successful product of that time and a product of its time. And even I have to admit that I also remember that as a child, I also kind of acted like the girly girl, cared about relationships mostly. And I believe that I was also going to be like a woman when I grow up. Even though all of this didn't even seem natural to me even back then. Some said LEGO Friends sets aren't nearly as complicated as sets for boys because apparently girls can't build. With that, I can totally disagree because it's stupid to compare the difficulty of like different difficulty sets. Take and compare, I don't know, Olivia's house or the Heartlake Grand Hotel and compare it to LEGO Ninjago Fire Temple, which are both over 1000 pieces. Then take Olivia's boat control and compare it to, I don't know, Kaisen Rapton Battle, and I don't know how many pieces this one had because I did not find it, but I also believe that it was around 20 pieces as well. And then compare it to any other LEGO creator sets, LEGO Flowers, LEGO Art, or I don't know, any other LEGO set, and compare it by their difficulty because it's stupid to compare LEGO Fire Temple with Olivia's boat control, for example. I don't know if this makes sense, but I hope you get what I mean. And the excerpt I'm going to read you next was summarized by AI, so correct me if I'm wrong. But in this study, Pink Brain, Blue Brain by Lisa Elliott, they argued that while biological differences exist between males and females, many perceived gender differences in behavior and skills are amplified by societal and environmental factors, not solely by inherent brain differences. The book suggests that parents and educators often unintentionally reinforce these differences, leading to a self-fulfilling prophecy where children gravitate towards and excel in areas that aligns with gender stereotypes. Elliott emphasizes that the brain is highly neuroplastic, and that interventions can help close the gaps and allow children of both sexes to reach their full potential. Contrary to that though, there was another interesting claim in the LA Times. Boys, maybe they're more interested in building fast mechanical and architectural projects with their LEGO bricks because, as the neuroscience has demonstrated, their brains are different and they, as a group, have superior spatial skills, whereas girls tend to gravitate towards interpersonal connections and stories. Maybe, in other words, there is more than a grain of truth in the gender stereotypes. Which I don't know which article did they take it from. I believe they don't mention it anywhere. But if anyone knows about this study, please share it in the comments down below. And also with this claim by the LA Times, I kind of agree. Because they're not taking any non-binary or other people here, but if we just take like standard female physiological figure and standard male physiological figure, we still do have some differences, mostly hormonal. So yeah, we as these two sexes do differ biologically, but then yes, I also do not like all these social gender stereotypes, and I totally do not agree with them, and I do fight against them, so don't hate me on that. The idea that girls play with dolls doubtlessly existed even before the introduction of Paradisa and other girly LEGO themes. So one can argue that DLG is actually being smart by marketing LEGO Friends to girls. But the problem with that is that we as humans perpetuate these societal stereotypes and expectations. And we are all responsible for the consequences of our actions by buying all these pink girly sex toys for girls only. So even if we didn't start this stereotype, we are responsible for perpetuating it and spreading it all around. And furthermore, LEGO just introduced a new set, and nobody is keeping girls away from playing with LEGO Harry Potter, LEGO Ninjago, or any other LEGO
boy-themed sets. All of that said, it is clear that TLG clearly listens to their audiences, and they posted an answer to their website in January of 2012. We read very clear requests from moms and girls for more details and interior building, a brighter color palette, a more realistic figure, roleplay opportunities, and a storyline that they would find interesting. The result, LEGO Friends, was made with the goal of inspiring more girls than we currently serve to try their hand at building and experience the pride of accomplishment that LEGO Play fosters. LEGO Play develops spatial, mathematical, and fine motor skills, and lets kids build almost anything they can imagine. We are compelled to clarify the incorrect information circulating about what we have developed, and basically, they go on to state in bullet points that, in non-professional words, means that all the LEGO Friends sets are as difficult or as easy to build as any other LEGO set. And also, there's this one bullet point that says pink bricks and elements have been included in LEGO sets for decades. The new colors introduced to create the LEGO Friends collection are 2 blues, 2 purples, and 2 greens, based on global research that indicated a wish for a bolder, more vibrant color palette to create the most interesting models. And this is still not the end. Because the worst came when there was a petition posted on change.org to stop distinguishing between block sets for girls and for boys and focus on gender-neutral marketing instead. You see, this petition was formed not long after the Friends line came out, and the anti-Friends critics found this 1981 ad which featured a small red-headed girl. The LEGO Friends critics posted and reposted this ad, demanding TLG to continue its gender-neutral marketing of 30 plus years ago. And now it's been even 40 plus years ago. It's crazy how fast time flies by.
I feel like I didn't explain this whole petition thingy clearly enough, so here I am, fixing my own mistakes. Because, well, okay, I also vote for the gender-neutral approach to marketing and all that stuff, but let's remember that TLG originally stated that LEGO Friends was primarily meant for girls. And my main issues with this petition are, well, first of all, the title, which makes it sound like they should just stop making LEGO Friends. But okay, headlines are always meant to be catchy and catch the reader's attention, so we can excuse that. But my second problem with this petition is that it accuses LEGO of reinforcing gender stereotypes by, for example, using pink colors and all these like girly themes, and demands that they stop this so-called harmful gender-reinforcing stereotype promotion. However, all these people never mention how boy-oriented themes also promote harmful stereotypes for boys. For example, like constantly using blue or like cars in their marketing and stuff. And also, it's honestly kind of funny how in this NPR article, the interviewer is kind of sarcastic towards one of the co-sponsors of this petition, which you can clearly see that he didn't do enough research on the whole LEGO Friends topic.
And a few weeks ago, in this article, a blogger found and interviewed the model of that ad, Rachel Giordano, who was aged 37 at the time of the article, and an alternative medicine doctor in Seattle. Interesting career choice. That sent the ad viral again, this time with its original model beating the gender-neutral drum. Gender segmenting toys interferes with a child's own creative expression, she scolded. I know that how I played as a girl shaped who I am today. It contributed to me becoming a physician and inspired me to want to help others achieve health and wellness. The critique of LEGO Friends, as I understand it, is not that LEGO Friends is presented as the only line for girls, but that TLG markets LEGO Friends as only a product line for girls. Instead of creating themes that appeal to both boys and girls, DLG goes on to create products only for boys and products only for girls. The fact that focus groups for LEGO Friends consisted only of girls and focus groups for LEGO Atlantis, for example, consisted only of boys proves that DLG believes, again, here we go with the word believes, that boys and girls have entirely separate needs.
And that boys come from Mars and women from Venus, we know that.
And that is a harmful belief that we, as a culture, already need to get rid of. But then again, Fenella, in much later interview to be frank, said that they focused on boys from the start as well, which goes on to prove that DLG actually listens to their audience, unlike some other companies.
And actually, weren't all toy advertisements in the 2000s and 2010s genderly divided? Which, of course, was a problem of its time, but that also proves that LEGO Friends was a good and successful product of its time. What's more, I found the following statement.
Yes, Friends was originally created to draw in the female demographic. And no, this doesn't mean girls should only play with friends, and it doesn't mean boys should not play with friends. Over the years, the LEGO Group's approach has evolved, resulting in the announcement this year that they will stop promoting any LEGO theme to any specific gender! Woo! For the author of this article, the main issue is the fact that when a theme is designed with a specific audience in mind, a lot of people directly label it as exclusively for, or in reverse, not meant for the whatever the opposite is.
For both me and the author of that article, the main issue lies in the fact that when a theme gets designed with a specific audience in mind, people go on to deem this product exclusively for that group, or in reverse, not meant for whatever the opposite is. Both of us hate and don't agree with this polar thinking. Because, again, both of us just go into the store and wander around and pick whatever our heart the fuck desires. Then they go on to say that,
as a parent of three, they try to do the same with their children. The children get the full LEGO catalog and they can pick whatever the fuck they want and find themselves.
and what's more, every child, and applies to all the people, is unique. So you can't split them perfectly into two different groups, because there will always be some kids which fit both of the groups or fit none of the above. And also, Caroline Mims Nisse wonders where their daughter fits in all of this.
I wonder where people would classify my girl who chooses the Hobbit Lego set, which have mostly brown and grey bricks with lots of characters ready to duel with one another. She does also like the elf sets, which are more for girls, but she prefers the Hobbit and Star Wars Lego sets.
And once again, I fully agree with the statement. If you go with your daughter and your son to a toy store and let them pick whatever they want, they can play with both Lego Friends and Lego Ninjago interchangeably. Or play and not choose neither of them because they don't like it, and that's also fine. And all of this goes to show that children aren't as simple as DLG deems them to be. If a boy likes pink and Barbie, he likes the color pink and Barbie. If a girl likes the color blue and football, she likes the color blue and football. And both of them can play and like Lego Friends and Lego Star Wars equally. Though my take on this is that I, as a kid, and still, liked the Lego Friends sets more than normal Lego sets, and mini dolls in particular, because, again, they featured more colors. The mini dolls were more realistic, and to be frank, the sets were more beautiful. Especially compared to these ugly mini figure blocky things. I still like them, don't get me wrong, but it's just I like mini dolls more because they are cute and realistic and what's more, I would like to own at least one, actually rather even more, mini dolls because I like them, despite me already owning 7 minifigs. At least 7. And also, I'm wondering, has this gender talk ever touched upon the boy-themed products? Because I think it is unfair that all the feminine products are always being alleged of perpetuating and reinforcing the gender stereotypes. But boy products just go on being boy products. If I'm wrong here, and you know of some toys and products which have been criticized for reinforcing manly gender stereotypes, please prove me wrong in the comments. And in the end, maybe surprisingly to all the LEGO Friends critics, boys also purchased LEGO Friends sets, mostly because they like the additions of new colors and they also use them with their other LEGO themed sets. And besides, in a much later interview, Fenella on the Friends relaunch team said, I think that we've been on a really big journey with boys. We actually test every time with boys as well. There are boys that want to play this relationship-based play, with that extra level of realism with the characters and the storytelling. That is something what we are welcoming with open arms. Okay, but now I'm toxic of this rabbit hole. While I was researching the history of LEGO Friends, I mostly only read about all these allegations and controversies, which made me think that LEGO Friends is probably the most heavily criticized LEGO theme ever.
And here is the promised comic strip.
Hi, I'm Olivia. And I'm Emma. We're new.
Oh, I know exactly who you are. You're from the new LEGO Friends line for girls. You come in here with your pink outfits and breasts thinking you're so hot, but I see right through your gender stereotypes. I am not impressed.
What's wrong with pink? We have breasts.
But again, I'm too tired of this. Let's move on to some other chapters. And so, next on our list is the 2018 relaunch. In 2018, all the Friends cast of Mia, Stephanie, Andra, Emma and Olivia all got a makeover. The characters became more inclusive and diverse, with more varied skin colors, outfits and eye colors. DLG made the characters more diverse in their appearances and added more depth into their personality. And of course they still lived in the Heartlake City. Though, as the characters have changed, the Heartlake City did a bit too. It became more diverse as well and more rich. And here I gotta admit that it did jump from level 1 to level 80 in just a few years. There are different districts and some other side characters also play a bigger part in the story. DLG wanted to add more diversity because that was what parents were asking them to. So they made Olivia's skin a bit darker, for example. All these side characters also became more representative. And what's more, the girls' appearances and personalities changed a little bit, both in the series and in the mini-dolls. Which, here I gotta say that I don't really like how they rebooted Emma and Olivia, because I honestly deemed them a bit ugly, but still, I like the upgrade and the evolution of LEGO Friends in 2018. And they rebooted literally everything, including even the magazines, which again, I don't really like the art there. LEGO Friends sets became pretty diverse. There came a lot of buildings, hair salons, pet care, houses, and even a movie theater. There were a lot of nature sets with campsites, and sets with boats, airplanes, and cars. In 2018, all Friends got their own bedrooms. In 2018, there was a hard box introduced featuring their hobbies, and in 2012, there came the Cube series. Also in 2020, the LEGO Friends lineup extended to include the small mini dolls, which are called micro dolls, which I don't like, to be honest. Though they were first introduced in the LEGO Disney series in the storybook sets. Also in 2020, the LEGO Group partnered with National Geographic to release several construction sets that focused on environmental issues. Which again goes to show that TLG focused their marketing strategies and campaign to focus on gender-neutral promotion instead of being exclusively for girls. The LEGO Friends line launched construction sets that centered on animal protection. They also launched a website together which helped kids learn about our world more and explore it. On May 1st of 2022, LEGO partnered with NASA and released a big spaceship set, which was much bigger than the first Olivia's Science Lab set. And in that same year, LEGO also shipped the famous two-faced hats for LEGO Friends, which were present in LEGO minifigs since 2001 probably, though I did not find it. The problem was that before, LEGO Friends hats were asymmetrical, which did not allow them to print the faces on both sides. Which you can also shift down to the problems of mini dolls, because dual faces allow for more replayability. Overall, I gotta say that I like the 2018 relaunch, because, again, the characters became more diverse, more inclusive, and the art became more interesting and pleasurable to watch, as well as the character designs. In 2022, LEGO Friends approached their 10-year anniversary mark, and this long existence of 10 years hopefully proved to the haters that they were wrong and that LEGO Friends mattered and that they weren't only just another girly girl toys which perpetuated feminine stereotypes. So, logically, for 10-year anniversary, there should have been something major, right? Some big announcements, some amazing new sets, or major news regarding LEGO Friends, no? Yeah, well, no, I was wrong. They actually just released 8 new sets and that's about it. One of which, the, I guess, main celebratory set, which was the Friendship Treehouse. Which, again, just proves that LEGO is a cash-grabbing brand. No, please don't hate me for that. I love LEGO also! Later on, I found out that the LEGO doesn't really do anything special for their long anniversaries, I guess. Or maybe I just didn't find anything. Again, please let me know in the comments. The only thing is that resellers do sell an opened promotional polybag for $780. In that same year, LEGO Friends proved to be one of the most profitable LEGO themes alongside LEGO City, LEGO Star Wars, LEGO Harry Potter, LEGO Icons, and LEGO Technic. The LEGO Playwell Study 2022 showed an overwhelming desire for more representation in play and more discussion on diversity, and revealed that parents believe it is most important to discuss the unique individualities between us all, especially in mental health, physical disabilities, mental disabilities, and ethnicity. Moreover, parents say that play and toys can have a key role in helping children learn about diversity. We haven't heard that ever before, and now again. So, LEGO Friends decided upon a new relaunch again. The Generation Reboot was announced in 2022, and it was launched on January 1st of 2023. And how did I skip it? Oh my god! Oh wait, right, 2023 was my worst and most productive but detrimental to my health year out of all so far. What I find interesting is that LEGO Friends relaunched in 2018, 6 years after its existence. And 2 years after that, the LEGO Friends design team pitched the idea that LEGO Friends should become more diverse in order to follow with the modern developing world. I guess they wanted to make everything in time for the 10-year anniversary, but they ended up being a little bit late because they launched in 2023. And where did the 5 girls disappear? Did TLG kill them, as they usually do in books and movies and series when they want to get rid of a character, or if they don't have enough money to pay the actors to play the character anymore? Not quite. TLG made a smarter move. The previously known characters weren't replaced or got rid of. Instead, in this fictional universe, they just grew up and went on to have their own lives. TLG thought that the modern new generation alpha kids would not really be interested in the old 5 girl characters, nor their adult lives, as you know, being adults includes having jobs and paying taxes. Instead, they introduced a new cast of diverse characters which represent the modern world and Generation Alpha kids better. The new cast of characters include 5 girls and 3 boys, representing diverse characteristics such as skin tones, disabilities, cultures, and neurodivergency. This seemingly unfair gender division is explained by the fact that LEGO Friends has always been as a toy line for primarily and only for girls, and despite that TLG was trying to introduce this line to more boy audiences, their reputation still persists. And what's more, again, Vanilla said in an interview that despite all that, they always had boys in mind, and that they test with boys every time as well. And I've been saving this for dessert, but let's talk about this little cute character Autumn with this limb difference. Oh my god! Autumn was born with her limb difference, but it doesn't define her as a character. She has a very outgoing and friendly personality that is completely making sense for her whether she had the limb difference or not. That was something that came through in the research, that nobody should treat any person with disability with some kind of special treatment on personality or whatever. Because all the people with disabilities, they have their own personalities and their disabilities do not define them who they are. And this also comes with all the characters and all the differences they represent in the series and toy lines. Okay, I'm too tired already, so let's just brush over the series real quick and end the video here. The original series focused on 5 teenage girls who live in the fictional town of Heartlake City, and their personalities can be summed up by just one word which characterizes them fully. Andrea the singer, Emma the cat lover and artist, Mia who is the animal lover, and oh my god, she is the mother of Autumn for the next incarnation? Holy shit! Olivia, the STEM representation one, and Stephanie, the gym freak. Compared to the recent characters, they really are flat and boring and one-dimensional, is it called? But I still respect them for being part of my childhood. Even though it was small and they did not form or impact me as well as Monster High or My Little Pony did. The 2018 relaunch series made the Heartlake City more modern and diverse, and compared to the first one, it had more plot and depth into it, and finally introduced real antagonists. And I gotta say, wow! Heartlake City really did modernize and level up quite a lot in just these 5 years. The girls stayed still quite the same, but the new animation got much better, and despite its simple plot, it's still quite interesting to watch, especially in Korean.
Let's go! Oh shit, why is it in Korean? Okay, I'm just kidding, this is just paper. Oh no! Who is this woman? 로보레이더. Why so dramatic, guy? Oh my god, a horse? We even got a horse? What? Wait. What? Wait, if she can like turn the electricity on and off like with one click, then it... what?
And I gotta cite negative legend here.
It's a strong departure from the original series, but everything feels more fun. There's a story that spans multiple episodes instead of standalone episodes like before. There's tiny jokes regularly sprinkled into the script, and there's minor fourth wall breaks here and there.
I know, pretty exciting, right? Guess I've got some explaining to do.
My prejudice also led me to assume that the new series was gonna be boring and childish, and that the characters were gonna be flat and one-dimensional. But surprisingly, or maybe not so surprisingly, it is actually very good and quite fun to watch. And the animation is just delicious. I especially love the addition of the 2D elements, which also really goodly complements the promotional materials for LEGO Friends, which include 2D elements and 3D characters on photo backgrounds. The new series is set in Heartlake School, which is located in Heartlake City. The plot is quite kids, teen, predictable slice of life series, but the characters are more dynamic, and it is honestly quite interesting and pleasurable to watch. You get the leader Alia, you get the Tumblr sexy man Zach, I guess, and the clown Leo. Or maybe it's the reverse. You have the I hate everybody Nova. You have the animal and nature lover Autumn. You have the shy and quiet Paisley. You have the artsy Leon. And you have the gay fashion designer Ollie. Okay, I'm sorry for calling him gay. I don't think he's gay. Or maybe... In the trailer they say...
Where your differences make the difference.
Are they trying to copy Monster High? And honestly, Nova is kind of my soul. At first, I kind of hated her, but then she turned out to be a gamer girl who is the best in everything. And it seems as if she's the only character who understands that she's in a stupid kids series and wants to escape to be in a teen sitcom show. I found one curiosity about Nova. Before the TLG did their research, they hypothesized that kids were not gonna like characters such as Nova. But instead, they ended up finding out that there are actually kids who act just like her. Which again, proves just how diverse and three-dimensional our world really is. TLG did a good job at including both boy and girl characters, as well as introducing bright and neutral colors to appeal both to girls and boys. Not only to girls as it was before. Overall, I think it is a pretty good series for modern day kids, which can teach them to how to behave, along with some life and relationship lessons. And overall, I don't hate it, but still, from my adult perspective... Oh my god, I'm already 20 years old! I would still like to redesign the characters and rewrite the story. Potential idea for a new video? And I also realized that the main song reminds me of Rainbow Rock's Equestria Girls song for some reason. Overall, I feel like the first original series was the most boring and girly girl one. 2018 introduced like a deeper and more interesting plot, and in 2023 they went back to younger audiences, but they did a good job at making the characters more multidimensional and dynamic compared to the first series. And as I already said, at first I just saw the silhouette of the new LEGO Friends logo and the teal box. But then I saw the characters and took a closer look at their faces. And you know, at first they seemed really ugly to me. But I believe it was just because I already got previously used to the old depiction of friends, which was more realistic compared to the newly more childish looking characters. And again, at first I hated it, but now since I started watching the new series, I kinda got used to them, and they even seem cute to me. No, still, we gotta address the problem that why do brands make such ugly reboots of their toys? I mean, just take a look at Monster High G2 and Ever After High G2 and LPS Generation 2 as well, if I think about it. And My Little Pony with these bubbly hats, oh my god.
I have finally finished this one video.
But you like games. And your channel was supposed to be centered around games. And you have to torture yourself more.
No,
and your channel was supposed to be centered around games.
Many people are aware of Heartlake stories. That's so hurtful. There was a 3DS game released in 2013, which, just like with the entire concept of LEGO Friends, abandons the original concept of.
He included even the games. No, I feel like I'm losing. So, yeah, the video game section.
Also, I realized that I did not like how I looked throughout this whole video, so from now on, you're gonna see me in this sweater. I found it quite surprising that there weren't many LEGO Friends games released, especially not any big or major ones we could remember. With other series, you have the Monster High's New Ghoul in School, for example, or their infamous web-based games. Then you have the LPS Gameloft game, and also, even My Little Pony had their own Equestria Girls 3D game, and the Gameloft strategy town building game, which is a money cash grab, but still a lot of people play it even today. Okay, I just realized that it's probably better to compare LEGO Friends games to other LEGO series or themes games. Before, we have already talked about the LEGO Friends game released in 1999, which basically became a mother to this whole franchise. But really? Pretty much the only game LEGO Friends has is the 2013 LEGO Friends game. The main objective of the game is reaching true friendship with the characters. The game requires you to do tasks to help with your new friends, Andrea, Emma, Mia, Stephanie, and Olivia, who is your cousin, by the way, in the game. The more tasks you fulfill, your friendship levels with the girls will grow closer to true friend status. A true friend helps a friend in need. A friend will be one who help them see. A true friend helps a friend in need to see the light shines from a true friend. Like in the other LEGO games, you collect stats around the game which are required for shopping. You can buy accessories for your hair, furniture, for your bedroom and outfits with this money. Throughout the game, you will unlock animal friends to help you with the tasks. The different species of pets have different skills, such as the bird, for example, Patty, which can fly. You can dress the pet with an accessory, or you can change the pet's color. This character swap is pretty much standard for any other LEGO game. And yes, this game does remind me of the typical Equestria Girls or Monster High run around 3D space and help out with meaningless quests, Animal Crossing type of game. Thanks to Reddit, I found out that this game was originally released for Nintendo DS or 3DS for $20. Then they uploaded it to Google and Apple Store, which was available for free there. But then, around 6 years ago, they shut it down completely. And people are crying about it. And despite all of these people being nostalgic about it, of course it did receive quite a lot of negative reviews. And And then there was the Lego Fusion game, which allowed you to build with your blocks in real life and then transfer it to the 3D app, which was released in 2014 but discontinued a year later. The reason being that it was just basically a test run before DLG launched Lego Dimensions a year later. And Lego Friends theme had the Lego Fusion Resort Designer. And for it to work, you had to build on this plate so the app could actually scan what you've built, and you had to include a door, otherwise no one could come out of your building. Just like in The Sims. Jeez, I want to play Sims so badly now. The app scanned what you built into the game and then generated a 3D version of your building, which you could also decorate the interior of. Plus, there are also some other exciting and cool things you could do inside the application. But the game has been discontinued ever since, so I can't really give it my honest opinion and review. Though some people say it was boring, so I guess we did not lose much actually. And also, this app kind of reminds me of the My Little Pony game where you could scan a code on their hoof and receive the pony in the game. And even of the LBS Roblox game now that I think about it. And even the resort designer has been alleged of all these controversies, for example, like lighting some buildings like police stations or firefighters. I'm just already so tired of discussing all of that. There were of course some web games as well with Lego Friends, but they are inaccessible even with Web Archive now. And the new generation doesn't have any major game either. Instead, it has all those web-based games, which maybe I should play and make a video about them? I don't know, I think I'm pretty boring when I play games, so no less play for me. There is also Heartlake Rush, available for mobile devices primarily, but it was developed in 2018, though it got updated and relaunched in 2025, I believe. Of course, I didn't mention everything. That would be impossible for me. For example, I didn't include the books, magazines, some theme parks and awards and some other attractions. But I already was researching for this video for half a year already, and I'm releasing this video too late. So yeah, no more rabbit holes for me. But this also leaves you with the option to share some of your memories about Lego Friends. Which sets did you own? What do you think about all of these controversies and allegations? Maybe your parents didn't want to buy you all these Lego Friends sets? Maybe you're a boy who was the one who purchased Lego Friends sets for the colors? And finally, what do you think about the new series? I'd be quite curious to find out. Either way, subscribe to my channel, give a like to this video, check out my Ko-Fi. I have also recently opened my commissions here. And yeah, follow me on all my social platforms. And see you in the next video, which should be released pretty soon. I promise. Bye!